Okay, so today I'm going to show you one of my go-to lunches. It's my vegetable medley with brown rice, and I'm going to make it savory, so I'm going to use organic chicken broth and I'm going to use a cup of brown rice. And I'm one of those people that I try to eat my 3 squares a day because I just can't handle the 5 to 6 meals a day. It's too much for me. I kind of like to limit my eating to 3 times a day, only because if I try to eat 5 or 6 small meals a day, it just gets to be too hectic for me just because I'm so busy during the day. So for me, it's easier to do a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I might have a snack if I get hungry or if I lift really heavy that day and I'm hungry later on in the day. But this vegetable and brown rice meal is one of my lunches, so it's my middle meal, so it's kind of substantial in the fact that it's got a lot of grains in it, whole grains, and it's got vegetables, and then I'll probably follow up with something like a protein shake or maybe some almonds or some kind of fat source, because there's no fat in this dish at all, but it's a completely balanced diet for me, or balanced meal for me during my lunchtime work day. So I have 1 cup of brown rice here. And I don't need to go off onto the benefits of the benefit of eating brown rice over white rice. It's obvious to people nowadays that it's a whole grain, and it's got some of that fiber that's been retained in it, so it's better for you. And I'm going to measure out my organic chicken broth. I'm going to use a little bit over 2 cups. And I have the low sodium chicken broth because I want the option of making it a little bit saltier if I feel like it needs it. So I'm going to measure out just a little bit over 2 cups because it seems to absorb a little bit more than that, and I'm going to throw this on the stovetop. So I'm putting it in a saucepan, I'm putting the lid on, and I'm turning it on high. I'm going to wait for that to boil, and then I'm going to add my rice. Okay, so my chicken broth has now come to a rolling boil. So I'm going to take my cup of rice. I'm going to sprinkle it in an even layer. Okay, you put the top back on. You kick it down to low. And I cook brown rice for 43 minutes. So, another great benefit of brown rice is that it has a lot of magnesium in it. And magnesium is a perfect complement to calcium. A lot of people that are calcium deficient don't realize that you actually need to take magnesium, an equal or greater amount of magnesium, to actually have that calcium work in your body. So a lot of people, they take their calcium supplements, they overdo it on the yogurt, on the cheese, on the milk, but that's not really what your body needs. Your body needs the balance. If you don't have the balance, the calcium isn't absorbed into your bloodstream, so you can't get the stronger bones. So you're actually defeating the purpose if you eat too much calcium without an equal balance of magnesium. So brown rice is one of those minerals. So I mentioned that I'm going to throw vegetables into the mix, and right now I'm going to chop up some red pepper and some carrots. I'm going to dice it pretty tiny because it just makes the meal last a little bit longer. It's going to end up being like maybe 2 to 3.5 cups of actual volume that I get to eat, but for me it's a great thing to do in the middle of the day because it's nice and concise. So I'm going to chop up my stuff. I'm going to let the rice cook for another 40 minutes or so. Okay, so my rice just got done cooking, so I'm going to pull that off in a minute. But what I do first, this is the 3rd vegetable that I put into my brown rice vegetable medley. I sprinkle frozen peas on a plate in an even layer, and this is going to be my protein. There's a lot of protein in peas, so for my middle of the day meal, I don't want anything too heavy because I want to be able to eat it pretty quickly, so this is a good source of protein for me in the middle of the day. And the rice should be not sticking to the bottom, but it's okay if it is, just a little bit. So you pour it on top of the hot, or the hot rice goes on top of the cold peas, and it makes them room temperature, so it turns out really well in the recipe. So I'm going to let this rice cool. I want to make it so that it's easy enough to put into my Ziploc containers for my lunch. So I'm going to let the rice cool before I add anything else to it. Okay, so here I've split up my brown rice and pea mixture into 3 equal portions. This will last me 3 days worth of lunches. I put a little bit of salt in there because I'm using low sodium chicken broth and it wasn't quite salty enough for me, so I put in a little bit more salt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my red bell pepper and carrot mixture, and what I diced this up really small, and I steamed it for about 2.5 minutes just to take the little bit of bite out. But as it sits in the fridge over the next 2 days, some of the hardness in the vegetables, the crunchiness will come out, so it ends up being like almost like a casserole thing. It's like a fake out casserole. So before I put that on top though, I'm going to put just a little bit of minced onion. It just gives it a little bit of flavor. It's kind of like those dehydrated onions. We buy them in bulk at our grocery store instead of fresh onions. I don't want to eat fresh onions in the middle of the day because I'm paranoid that I'll smell. So I'm going to just divide this into 3 equal portions. And you can see that some of the juices out of the vegetables will give it a little bit more moisture. So back to the macronutrient profile of my lunch. So I have in 1/3 cup of short grain brown rice. I have about 220 calories. I have less than 2 grams of fat. I have about 5 grams of protein, and I have 2 grams of fiber. And about, as far as carbos, between 45 and 50 grams of carbs. So it's a very clean, burning fuel brown rice is. It's one of those vegetables that I used to be scared to eat brown rice just because of the calorie content. What we don't realize about brown rice is just how clean it burns in your body. So you won't get hungry for about 3 to 4 hours after eating this, especially eating all the fiber in the vegetables. So not only is it a good clean fuel source for your body in the middle of the day, but it's also very healthy just because you get a huge amount of vegetables and a decent amount of protein between the brown rice and the peas. So this is kind of my go-to lunch in a box, and this will, like I said, it fits in like a 4-cup container, so it's a good decent amount to eat. And then I'll usually follow it up with some almonds or even some cashews for fat, and I might even eat like an apple or a pear or some kind of in-season fruit. Right now it's summer, so I'll go for pineapple, but give this recipe a try. I know you'll like it because it'll keep you full throughout your afternoon in time for dinner, and you'll feel really good from eating it just because it's bursting with flavor. I mean, you can see the brown rice and the peas and the pepper and the carrots and just a little bit of onion to give it a little kick so you don't get too bored eating it. So give this recipe a try. I know you'll like it.